I hijacked a plane so I could sing you a song. I'm not sure how I got this large guitar on board, but now you know I can play guitar, and I have a nice suit. I have a mansion and a butler and a dog, but if you don't like dogs, I'll get a cat if that's better. Look at my wallet, it's really chubby, full of cash.
Ooh, I love cash.
But you can use my card if you feel that money is rash. I wanna grow old with you. I'm Adam Sandler.
Did you say you hijacked the plane?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Film Theory. In this episode, we'll be looking at romantic comedies and their subtle, or not so subtle, ways of promoting consumerism. My name is Emma, and I am joined by Jackson and Colin. The much-beloved romantic comedy genre, known for its light-hearted plots and happy endings, is sometimes maligned for its cheesy, corny nature. Think of Pretty Woman, You've Got Mail, or Talladega Nights. But while the genre can be considered nothing more than unrealistic feel-good fluff, we believe that the conventions of the genre support the dominant American ideology of consumerism. Constructed realism in the romantic comedy genre functions to normalize the ideology of consumerism in America.
Thank you, Emma, for that wonderful introduction. So, how is realism constructed in romantic comedies? Richard Jenkins of Independent wrote about a survey done on 2,000 adults, in which 46% criticized rom-coms as being unrealistic, while 29% saw the films as accurate. Even though there is a widespread conception that the romantic comedy genre is unrealistic in its portrayal of relationships and other aspects of real life, the survey went on to reveal that a sizable portion of those surveyed have changed their behavior in some way to make their lives more like what they saw in a movie. If the films contain no realism, and if audiences considered them to be entirely unrealistic, this phenomenon would not occur. But how can films with such unlikely events as a 13-year-old's consciousness jumping into her 30-year-old self's body seem realistic to viewers? In the textbook Cinema Studies, The Key Concepts, Susan Hayward writes about a type of realism in films: seamless realism, whose ideological function is to disguise the illusion of realism. In films utilizing this realism, film technique erases the idea of illusion, creates the reality effect, and provides a preferred reading. The cinematography, lighting, sound, and editing is constructed to draw attention away from the fact that the screen is focused on actors on a set engaged in scripted dialogue. A visual example is found in Clueless during Cher's closet matching scene. We are shown how huge her wardrobe is and how important it is that she wears matching colors. Obviously, this is not a realistic portrayal of picking out your clothes. But how does this realism support consumerism? Well, here to answer that is Jackson.
Thank you, Colin. Now it's time to discuss how realism in romantic comedies contributes to myth and hegemony. First of all, let's define myth and hegemony. According to keywords for media studies, hegemony is a way to describe people or ideas that become and seek to remain dominant in society. Using the same source, myths are how words and images are systematically used to communicate cultural and political meanings, making them seem natural and stopping people from questioning the way the world works. Basically, hegemony is the dominance of a person or idea, and myths are how they are presented as dominant. In Comolli and Narboni's Cinema, Ideology, Criticism, a film is described as becoming a commodity or a product after labor is assembled. So, this industry is already capitalistic, and as Comolli and Narboni write, every film is political inasmuch as it is determined by the ideology that produces it, or within which it is produced, which stems from the same thing. The cinema is all the more thoroughly and completely determined because unlike other arts or ideological systems, its very manufacture mobilizes powerful economic forces in a way that the production of literature does not. So, every film, unless the director specifically goes out of their way to challenge this, naturally supports the industry, its creation, and the dominant ideologies of the society in which it was made. The realism of romantic comedies, already explained, is very important in doing this, as the ideals expressed and supported in the films are made to seem natural and realistic. Myths, which should not be questioned and thus contribute to hegemony of certain ideologies.
Thanks, Jackson. So how does myth and hegemony's presence in romantic comedies support consumerism as a dominant ideology? In romantic comedies, the main characters generally have lives to be desired, and viewers are encouraged to emulate their habits in an effort to find the same happiness that they have. One facet of this is the rampant presence of consumerism, materialism, and characters spending money in these films to find a sense of fulfillment. For example, in the film Clueless, Cher is monologuing about how it's impossible that she can love Josh, and during her monologue, she stops, sees a dress in a shop window, and purchases it without a second thought, then continues thinking about Josh. This scene tells audiences that the more stuff you have, the better your life will be, like Adam Sandler with his guitar, mansion, butler, and dog. There are lots of things that people are attracted to: money, cars, even a kid's meal.
You bought a kid's meal? Oh, Vlad!
Clara!
But jokes aside, this has a real effect on people who watch these kinds of films.
This dominance of materialism and consumerism are shown through not only the bright, colorful, filled-up visuals of rom-coms, but also the bizarre dialogue that you would never hear in real life.
I spent $40,000 on shoes and I have no place to live? I will literally be the old woman who lived in her shoes.
Lisa French's chapter, Shopping for Identity, Post-Feminist Philosophies in Sex and the City and In the Cut, in the book Consumerism on TV, Popular Media from the 1950s to the Present, she argues that Sex and the City uses consumerism to push and promote feminism in its characters. When characters are down, they will turn to consumers things like shopping. The book says it's not to demoralize the characters, but to empower them, promoting consumerism and claiming that it is beneficial for female empowerment and how it promotes feminism. A classic example is from Pretty Woman, where Julia Roberts' character purchases a new wardrobe, and with it a new sense of identity, confidence, and happiness. In this way, romantic comedies make the practice of consumerism seem natural and positive, an ideology to uphold without question and a lifestyle to pursue.
In The Rom-Com Genre and the Shopping Gene by Thomas Doherty, the author says, the emotional shift in allegiance from the power of love to the power of preferably Louis Vuitton purse signals a major revision in the Hollywood book of romance. Clearly, there was a time when romantic comedies were innocent, feel-good movies, but as Doherty says later on, the rom-com created something different. Something that barely disguises a blatant endorsement of consumerism as a relative of romantic love, and something just as desirable. A few paragraphs after the previous quote, Doherty says, all of the imagined genetically linked traits that divide women from men, none is more dominant than the chromosomal hard writing that imprints the instinct for shopping into the female bloodstream.
Excuse me, what?
Yes, you heard that right. This shopping gene imprints a shopping instinct into the female bloodstream. Now, obviously, this is an over-exaggeration and blatantly false representation. This is an over-exaggeration, but there is still a good point to be made. The representation of shopping as an ideal lifestyle fosters the already present idea in society that women love to shop, encouraging women to act on the desire to spend money and telling men that women really just want to shop. This support of consumerism may not be intentional by the producers of the films, but there is clearly a supportive aspect to consumerism shown by the myths and hegemony in romantic comedies, whether intentional or not. Now, how does this impact the real world? Take it away, Emma.
Earlier, we discussed a poll of 2,000 adults. 22% noticed problems in their own relationship after watching a romantic comedy, and 15% even ended a relationship because of the expectations set by the film. Rom-coms are not only affecting people looking for a relationship, but also those who are already in one. Believe it or not, people are separating due to these cheesy movies. People try to change to be like a fictional character in a film, and others are imitating scenes in rom-coms for proposals, like this guy proposing to a girl at a lantern festival, similar to the boat scene in Tangled. A bonus proposal example is a fake movie trailer that was played in front of this guy's girlfriend. Beyond that, and with perhaps a greater impact, romantic comedies support the dominant ideology of consumerism in America and encourage viewers to accept the values of capitalism without question. Consumerism is an ideology with its own host of problems, and encouraging the ignoration of these issues is dangerous and problematic. Just because something is dominant doesn't mean it's a good thing, and every blindly accepted ideology in the world should be carefully investigated and questioned.
Overall, romantic comedies have an impact on the world when it comes to consumerism. With the examples mentioned in this video, one can see how viewers can interpret these films and shows as supporting wealth and possessions and use them as guidelines to a successful relationship. And while that is true, romantic comedies can also encourage the viewer to be themselves and go out into the world with a fresh mind, paying no attention to what others have or buy. Always remember to digest media with the knowledge that it is a distorted product of reality. And remember, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.